What innocent question that someone asked you crushed you a little? A waiter asked me if my wife was pregnant once. She was just bloated from chemo side effects. Crushed me. So glad she didn't hear. She couldn't have had kids and she passed 2 years back. Edit. I just wanted to say thanks to those who commented on this. It wasn't expected. We went to the place a lot, so as a young couple he had seen over the years, it was probably a reasonable thing to assume. Also, I'm doing okay. We knew she was terminal for most of our relationship. We probably did more in those few short years than we would have normally. It hurts a lot still, but I know I have her everything I possibly could in that time. Just remember to live life like each day could be your last. People. Mend that broken friendship. Ask out that girl. Follow your dream, monsieur. XX. My son undergoing chemo and radiation treatment for a bone marrow transplant. People, meaning well of course, would always ask, how's your son doing? I'd always have to fake a smile and give some shallow hopeful answer, he's fine. He's a fighter, but deep inside the question crushed me every time. No, he was suffering, teetered on the brink of life and death. He was not fine, and every time I heard that question I was reminded of it and had to swallow the pain. My son had since recovered, but it was a very tough time. When will you get better, so you can play with this? My niece, who was too young to understand what disabled meant, she's older now and understands that I will never get better. And we have adapted play time to do things I can handle as well. But that broke my heart. A friend looked at me and said, I know we've talked about it before. But how did you break your nose? I've never broken my nose, this is just how it looks. Wow, Owen Wilson, why are you so weird? I never really fit in, but I'm not sure why this question crushed me so much. I went to get a haircut for my fiancé's funeral. It was he had died on Tuesday. My stylist, all bubbly, said, it's been a while. The last time I saw you, you were just about to move in with your boyfriend. How's it go? The words stuck and I kind of rasped it out. Honestly though, her reaction was so wonderful. She was behind me, and just put her hands firmly on my shoulders and looked me in the eyes in the mirror. No shock, no stupid platitudes, just silent, genuine empathy. The rest of the haircut was pretty quiet, but she did everything so lovingly, and didn't make a big deal out of it when I cried a little. That is a beautiful, touching story. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for saying that. I got asked why I wouldn't stand up straight for a photo. I have kyphosis and am standing up as straight as I can. What's on her face, Mom? Little girl, I used to be a cashier and had terrible acne at the time. Had this happen to me a few times too. It hurts, but I know when kids say this it's from a place of curiosity. When older people feel the need to point out my acne, it hurts a lot more. My mom accidentally called me after about 10 years of not talking. I answered all ready for a serious conversation. When I answered, she was like, wait, who's this? I say, hey mom, it's Fraggle Rocks. Her reply is, what hurt? Fraggle Rocks who? Why are you calling me mom? Quote, she was so drunk. Hi, she didn't recognize her own daughter's name. Fuck, I teach first grade and was taught about how I've been married for 5 years. One student asked, how could you not have a baby by now? Not wanting to explain multiple miscarriages and IVF to a classroom of 6-year-olds, I said, being around all of you makes my heart so full that I don't think I have room in my heart for a baby. Quote, they all smiled. I smiled too. I've learned from my experience to never ask couples when, if they want to have a family. Fucking, and it can go the other way too. We had been struggling to have kids until we finally saw a fertility specialist who immediately diagnosed the root cause and prescribed medication that helped. Same as you, we didn't feel this was a topic we really needed to mention to anybody though. All the while, my wife's older sister had been telling everybody that she had no interest in having kids of her own. We took this at face value initially, but then on a whim we decided to tell her my wife's medical history, as these things often run in the family. And who would have thunk? 2 months later, my sister-in-law was pregnant too. She'd just been too shy to tell anybody about the real reason she didn't have kids. Sometimes, communication is a good thing, and all the best of luck to you. Elementary school teachers do an amazing job. Thank you so much. I had no friends in summer school and a girl asked me if I had any friends. Like straight up, do you have any friends? Then became friends with me but still. Did she have any friends? Yeah, she did, but I didn't. I literally didn't know what to say since I was so shocked that someone would ask that. Rough night last night. Usually asked with a big smile. I was asked that all the time when I was younger because I had a really obvious tremor. Thing is, I did not drink or do drugs at all and I had no idea what was wrong with me. I was eventually diagnosed with Graves' disease and treated for it, but I still have a bit of a tremor. I had hypothyroidism, then underwent radioactive iodine treatment and am now hypothyroid. My lips were often blue and I was always pale and cold with sunken-looking eyes until we got my medicine on track. People asked me all the time if I was sick because I looked like I was dying. Thyroid shit really fucks you up. And when you try to explain it, no one knows what a thyroid even is. Non-verbal. But the nurse at the flu shot station seemed unsure whether to give me the under 65 or over 65 consent for, monsieur. If I'm going to be mistaken for being that much older than my actual age, at least it should be in the context of me getting a senior discount. My grandma's hair has been stark white since she was 23. And she has been getting offered senior discounts since she was about 30. She used to get offended, but now sees it as a sorta life hack. Your grandmother still isn't 65. Speaking of offhanded comments that hurt your soul a little. Askreddit asterisk holy kittens, so many responses. I just turned 38. Incidentally. And my parents had me at 29 and amp 30, which is the age I had my son. I know I'm not elderly or anything. It's just that I think of myself as closer to my mid-20s than early 40s. And when I'm reminded, it's a momentary startle. I could never imagine getting cancer at such a young age. How are you this strong, brave, do you stay so positive? I've stopped counting the amount of people that have asked me that. Yes, I'm mid-20s, but it's not a choice that I'm staying strong, it's fucking survival. Every time someone asks me that, it feels like getting punched. No questions or advice here, just a heartfelt, damn. Speaking to my coach the other day, she asked me, how are you feeling? And I honestly did my best not to cry my eyes out. I just got out of school and have to figure out what I want to study next year while balancing 3 jobs. That barely gives me enough for rent. So, I feel bad to be honest. What do you see when you look in the mirror each morning? My friend was having some body issues and she asked me this question since I was one of the most confident people she knew. She learned maybe a bit too much that day. How did you respond? If you don't mind me ask, edit. Oh Jesus, I've started a meme train. I told her that I didn't like anything of what I saw. In fact, I actively hated everything I saw, and thank you for this train. It's been an entertaining ride. Why do you work in a factory when you have an honors degree in physics? I worked in a Home Depot a long time ago. I distinctly recall a co-worker of mine who worked in the tile department and was a bit eccentric. I love talking to the guy. Real great personality, real outgoing, super knowledgeable about just about anything he put his hands on. In a discussion we were having at one point he mentioned his education, a master's in physics. Then also that he had several other master degrees lol. I definitely asked him what the hell he was doing working at a Home Depot and he turned to me and said, Dillinger, sometimes you gotta do what you love. Quote. He went on to mention how he just didn't enjoy working in any of the fields in which his degrees were. Despite loving the various subjects, he just straight up loved tile and manual labor, working with his hands. He wasn't the only one either. One of my hardware workers was a pretty great old man who didn't understand the definition of break, and would work throughout the day lol. I asked him one time what he was doing working Home Depot since he was of retirement age, and he mentioned he could have stopped working decades ago, since he was the former owner of a major railroad company LMAO. He said after he sold it he spent like a year off, got super bored, and decided he just wanted to work and not be bothered with anything, so he got a job at Home Depot. He was in his early 70s and worked harder than pretty much anyone else. Anyways, the point is, degrees and circumstances don't define you, and people sometimes forget that. Don't worry about them, my dude. Dudette, you do you. And GT. I asked him one time what he was doing working Home Depot since he was of retirement age, and he mentioned he could have stopped working decades ago, since he was the former owner of a major railroad company LMAO. He said after he sold it he spent like a year off, got super bored, and decided he just wanted to work and not be bothered with anything, so he got a job at Home Depot. He was in his early 70s and worked harder than pretty much anyone else. I imagine the security of knowing you can quit at any time and it just doing the job for fun makes it a lot easier, too.